Do you believe in miracles? If you do, then this story is for you. A 4-year-old boy named Saroo lived in a tiny Indian village. He was born into a poor family. To make ends meet, his older brother, Gudoo, washed train cars, and their mother worked several jobs to feed the family. It wasn't easy. Once, when the mother was working the night shift, Saroo's older brother was supposed to put him to bed and then go to his night job. But one unexpected development turned this night upside down. It was that fateful night that Saroo couldn't fall asleep and got scared of staying home alone. He was crying and asking his older brother to go to work with him. Gudoo was running late, and although he really didn't feel like doing it, he decided to put his younger brother on his bike and take him along. Gudoo thought that he'd do everything in a couple of hours, and their mother would never have to know what had happened. Gudoo left Saroo sitting on a bench for a few minutes and ran to see his employer. Curious, Saroo wandered around and went inside one of the trains. As the boy was tired, he fell asleep on the train floor. When Saroo woke up, he was on a moving train that was taking him to God knows where. It's hard to imagine what a 4-year-old must have felt when he saw his villages and fields out of a window of a moving train. The train traveled for 2 days without making any stops, and finally arrived in Calcutta, a huge city located on the other side of the country. The city was noisy and very different from his native quiet village. Saroo was confused. He didn't know what to do and where to look for his house. People didn't pay any attention to him, as they saw him as yet another one of the street beggars. Saroo spent several days in a big city, roaming the streets without purpose and sleeping wherever. I don't think I need to spell out the dangers that homeless children face. At one point, he joined a group of children just like him. One night, a group of men arrived and put the kids in their cars. Saroo miraculously managed to escape, but he never saw any of his street friends again. Not knowing what to do, he roamed the streets of a huge megapolis. One day, tired and starving, he sat down near a little restaurant. Saroo watched a young man eat his dinner through the restaurant window. The poor kid moved his hands to his mouth, imagining that he was eating that meal. That's when the man noticed him. The man went out and started asking Saroo about his family and relatives. He couldn't get a coherent answer out of the boy, so the man took him to the social services to get help. However, even they couldn't locate Saroo's parents, as the boy couldn't read or write, and he couldn't recall the name of his home village. Saroo was officially acknowledged as an orphan, but fate was kind and gave Saroo an incredible gift. A family from Australia saw his photos and decided to adopt him. Across the ocean, a big house, good food, and a loving family were waiting for the little boy. Soon, Saroo developed his own routine living in Australia. School, new friends, computer games. He grew up in a financially stable family around kids that were also well off. The boy could have virtually anything he wanted. Saroo went to college and had his own car, but in his heart, he had always kept warm recollections about his tiny village, loving mother and older siblings. There was a huge map of India hanging on the wall in his room. Looking at the map, the boy wondered what had happened to his mother and whether he would ever get to see her again. Would she be able to recognize her grown son? Time went on, but Saroo never gave up hope to one day find and hug his relatives. Already at college, he spent hours looking at India's virtual map on Google Earth, trying to stumble upon something that would look familiar, looking at India's railroad stations. And there are over 10,000 of them, sometimes spending up to 10 hours per day at it. After some time, fate rewarded Saroo for all his efforts. He couldn't believe his eyes when he accidentally stumbled upon a series of satellite photos. Those were the shots of his native village. The bridge, the fast river, the factory where his mother worked. The name of this village was Ganeshtalay. Without any hesitation, Saroo left everything behind and went to the place he'd been dreaming of for so many years. Having arrived in India, the first thing Saroo did was find his home village and his house. Saroo wasn't sure whether his family still lived there and whether they would recognize him. While Saroo was fighting off his doubts, an older woman approached him and gave him a gentle hug. He didn't even know what was happening yet, but this was his mother. She knew it was her son the moment she saw him standing next to their house. The mother's heart knew the truth, even though it had been 25 years since Saroo went missing. Saroo was in for another shocking news. His brother Gudoo died on that very night when Saroo got lost. Gudoo was hit by a train when he was frantically running across the railroads looking for his little brother. Everyone said I was never going to succeed. They said it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. But if you want something bad enough, you will always succeed, recalled the young man later. Now Saroo lives in Australia and has a business of his own. Every month he wires money back to his family in India so that they don't have to work so hard anymore. He visits India several times a year together with his adoptive parents. They come to see Saroo's mother and sister. Saroo's mother also spent many years looking for her lost son, but to no avail. All she could do was weep for her little boy. Thus, 25 years later, Saroo managed to find his biological family and bring peace to his own heart and the heart of his mother. There's actually a movie based on Saroo's story. Millions of people across the world were touched when they saw it and learned about his life. The story of a toddler who faced countless challenges and difficulties is definitely worthy of respect and attention. Friends, if you are also touched by this story, please like the video and share it with your friends.